Welcome to the Home Coach Podcast, a weekly deep dive into all things real estate. Now, here's your host, Steve Henion.
Welcome back to another week with the Home Coach. Well, it was once said by James Carville in 1992, it's the economy, stupid. Well, that's where we are, picking back up from last week where we are today. Going over some numbers that were released this morning. GDP for the third quarter is down to 2.0%. That's less than the estimate of 2.7%, which is also less than the second quarter. Second quarter was at 6.7%. So that's a drop of 4.7 percentage points of GDP from quarter two to quarter three. Jobless claims. New ones staying at around 281,000 new claims, continuing claims at about 2.243 million. So kind of hanging out there, similar to what that was last week. Consumer spending, guys, was abysmal at a meager 1.6%. Reasons for that, folks are saying that's the supply chain as well as inflation. I don't know if inflation has been figured into everyone's everyday spending, but I don't know if I agree with that, but I do agree that it's with the supply chain. And I think people, the consumer confidence out there, which I told you guys I kind of stick to as far as how's the housing market going. I think the consumer confidence out there with the direction the economy is going and all is down. I don't know what the recent numbers are. I think they come out next week. But I think people are just kind of trying to figure out what's going on, what's going to happen with Christmas time, the holidays, jobs. I think everyone's kind of just hunkering down right now. But we'll see. That's 1.6%. It's pretty weak. It's clearly showing that the economy is slowing down. So those are the numbers that are out. Now I want to go back to, I want to reference what we talked about last week. Now, why am I talking about the economy on a real estate show? Well, because guys, I think we really in our business have got to be paying attention to this economy as it's moving forward. I told you, I've been telling you the last couple of weeks how I'm nervous that it's reminiscent of some of the things I saw back in 2007, leading into the crash of 8 on it. Different, but similar in a lot of the ways the economy is headed. So let's last week I was talking about China and China's blackouts, and China's blackouts were due to, we talked about production and jobless, and we talked about that last week. But I want to bring that up because there's a story out now about Germany. Now, Germany, this seems to be self-inflicted wounds that are coming in from Germany. So Germany, and it's interesting because it's also going to play into the United States, but hear me out for a sec. Germany is having rolling, they're going to have rolling blackouts. Well, what do you mean by that? Why is Germany going to have rolling blackouts? So they want to be, there's this push for them to become carbon neutral, right? The goal that all this, the Euro nations as well as United States, when we're doing the whole carbon footprint stuff, wanted to be carbon neutral by 2050. So Germany decides, well, you know what? We want to be carbon neutral. Merkel out there says we want to be carbon neutral by 2045. Okay. Well, they haven't been doing a great job of getting it out, getting it done over there in Germany. So they're amping it up. They're like, okay, well, we got to start. We haven't been on track for where we want. So here's, we've got some issues we got to address with going carbon neutral. So their nuclear power is on the way out next year. They're shutting down nuclear power. They're getting rid of nuclear power, a very clean source of energy, but they're getting rid of nuclear power. And then coal is the next one that they're getting ready to get rid of. I think that was over a couple of year period. Coal is needing to be. Oh, actually, I think coal is already out, is on their early exit out. Nuclear is the next. Anyway, I might have those backwards, but here's where they're going to get into some issues now in Germany, which they're already trying to compensate for. So because of that, they've got to increase their wind and solar energy. Especially, listen to this, especially when electricity demand is expected to see a steep rise as vehicles go electric and hydrogen production soars. Okay, so they're going to need this stuff up and running fast as they're adding more electricity. All these things are going to demand electricity on it. Here's the critical part. So how are the German citizens going to be affected by this? Right. So if you already have this type of power sources and everyone's relying on it and it's cheap, but now there's the decision to go to these new methods of energy are expensive. They haven't been refined to being a inexpensive form of energy, which if it was inexpensive, people would probably be naturally wanting to gravitate towards it, right? In the United States, we have these electric cars, but they're subsidized. So if the government is subsidizing, which in essence means the citizens of the United States are subsidizing it, right? Then it's not that great of a vehicle if it wasn't for it to be subsidized, right? They wouldn't buy it if it wasn't being subsidized. That's the theory behind it, because otherwise, why would you subsidize it? Solar panels, the same thing. It's very expensive to get these kind of solar panels in to run your house, and especially on a cloudy day. Okay, so in Germany, it says the phase out of the coal coupled with slow uptakes of renewables and a higher rise in power demand would not only drive up electricity bills for German homes already among the highest in Europe, but also raise the specter of frequent power outages, especially during chilly winters. So now you're a economic machine in Germany, and you're self-inflicting wounds on you by putting these renewables and these arbitrary time deadlines of hitting these renewable guidelines. So now the Germans are going to have to just get used to power outages similar to what's already happening, not self-inflicted, but already happening in China, right? And you know what? It's going to be a little crazy during the chilly winters when we get on there. And listen, this is from the German economist, the state economist or whatever, says, in addition to candlelight dinners possibly becoming the norm, candlelight dinners becoming the norm. We're going back into the 1700s or earlier. They're doing this to them. In addition to candlelight dinners possibly becoming the norm, power interruptions could prove extremely costly for the German economy. What the heck is going? Okay, so this is Germans. The Germans are going to be taking care of that. Well, you think it's just going to be there. Well, those Europeans, they're kind of crazy. They're living on the edge. They're always, maybe out on the ahead of the curve. My home state of North Carolina. Just passed October 13th, 2 weeks ago. Passed. North Carolina law aims for carbon neutrality by 2050. Okay, well, here we are joining this whole Euro thing here in the state of North Carolina. We're agreeing to going ahead, and we like that idea, that carbon neutral footprint. And this got bipartisan support. I mean, it passed through our Senate 42-7, and through our House 90-20. So this isn't even like a political issue. This is literally, we're going forward with this. This is great. Our representatives love this. So hear this out. This is the new bipartisan law requires North Carolina Utilities Commission to take steps needed to get North Carolina a 70% reduction in carbon emissions by the year 2030. 2030 is this big date, is being floated out there amongst not only the Europeans on there, but here now in North Carolina, here in the United States. 2030, that's like a benchmark they're trying to hit. That's 8 years away. 8 years away. They're trying to hit this benchmark, cutting their carbon emissions by 70%. and they want to be carbon neutral by 2050. So that's the second benchmark, right? So you got 2030 and you got 2050. This is from North Carolina Governor Cooper's mouth. This is going to make transformative change. Making transformative change is often controversial and never easy. What do you mean, Governor? It's never easy. What's that never easy stuff? Well, y'all, the never easy is what he's referring to, that the Germans have already been open and discussing about. It ain't gonna be easy. Meaning, you're all gonna be like we're all gonna be like the Germans and getting used to our candlelight dinners and our chilly nights. In order to handle this, listen, and here's where it gets to the homeowners. Okay, so Steve, we're talking about how does this relate to homeowners? Okay, because in order to do this, right, you got all these houses. You got North Carolina is booming, just like lots of states, right? So other states out there, you need to be paying attention to this. I don't know what's going on in the other 49 states out there, but here we have in North Carolina, how are we going to get? We got all these houses, we got all this commercial property. Well, we can't do it just on new cars or just new buildings that are coming in. We already got 10 plus million people in all the commercial buildings. So North Carolina, in this law, it establishes, listen to this is really important. It establishes a program to help homeowners finance energy efficient upgrades. What? Is this law saying, yes, it is. Is this law saying that I've got to go and upgrade my energy in my house? What are all the things I'm going to have to do? New windows, new doors, new HVAC, new ductwork. What do I have to add? Solar power now? Do I have to get off of if I have oil, fuel? I mean, what? It establishes a program to help homeowners finance energy efficient upgrades. Y'all, it isn't the government paying for this. It isn't the state of North Carolina paying for these upgrades. They're going to help you, meaning hey, here, homeowner, we know it's going to cost you another 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. How, if your house is in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, we're going to loan you the money. We're going to give you a loan. We're going to lend you. We're going to give you some money that you're going to pay us back, but we'll give you some money in order to do that. Oh my gosh, y'all. So now North Carolina, by joining that on it, that's just going to increase housing costs, right, guys? I mean, if now we're going to be using energy that isn't, while it's efficient, is expensive, and we got to pay to upgrade the homes, which, y'all, this also includes if you're a landlord, right? You're going to have to upgrade your rental property. Well, if you're going to upgrade your rental property, you're going to have to upgrade the price you're charging for rent on there. And this comes at a time where we have more data that's coming out. This breaks it down into like utility. The moratoriums are off, right? The moratorium stopped on not paying rent out there, your mortgages and all. Well, there are also moratoriums that had to do with utility bills and all like that too, right? So even though if there was a moratorium on paying rent, well, then most of the municipalities out there said, well, we'll have a moratorium on you paying your utilities back, okay, like city water and sewer. Well, now we have numbers that are coming out that we have an increase of unpaid utility bills of 250% from a year ago. So prior to the moratorium, you have the moratorium. Now people don't have to pay their rent. Now they don't have to pay their utilities. So now the moratorium's off. Now the utility companies or the municipalities come in and say, okay, start to pay up. Well, guess what? The unpaid, the ones who say, hey, I can't pay it, is up 250%. And so now the municipalities and utility companies are cutting off the water They can't pay. So now they're cutting them off. Now, where are those people going to go? If they can't afford their water bill, right? Because they got their rent they got to pay back, or their mortgage they got to pay back, and they got to pay their utilities. Now, here's the problem. We talked about this a long time ago. The problem with a lot of these folks was they weren't looking at it as a you don't ever have to pay. They were looking at it as, I'll never have to pay this back. That's how they were looking at it. People weren't saving their money. They were sitting home and getting treadmills and, jogging around the neighborhood and getting, Peloton and whatever. But they weren't saving their money to help pay for these utility bills and everything later on. So now the bill comes due and they're like, I'm done. I don't have any money. So they're kicking them out. They're shutting off the water on these folks. All of a sudden, a quote, all of a sudden people's income isn't reliable. When you're on a fixed income, it's really hard to start paying those bills and getting ahead of that. Duh. We all knew that. We all knew that was going to be the case. I mean, we were just delaying the inevitable. And then people were getting paychecks from the government in order to subsidize all those things that they wanted to buy out there, which was fueling this crazy economy that was going through where everyone isn't working, but they're still buying a bunch of stuff, right? Well, at some point, that's got to get paid back. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to feel the effects of getting the free ride. So that leads us then to the next part that this is when we're talking about affordable housing. We were talking about last week how affordable housing is going to be an issue and is an issue for many municipalities, like with your housing costs skyrocketing, going up 30% over the last year, or even since January of 2021. So in this particular year, up 30%. Many places across the country on it. Where are people going to live? And so what's happening is we're having what you're seeing is a separation in rentals and home ownership. We talked last week about the purchasing is going down, the number of units being sold going down. There isn't enough new construction that can be built in order to capture the supply need that's out there. So here, interesting. This is in Raleigh, North Carolina, my city of Raleigh, North Carolina. They're trying. In Raleigh, we passed a bond last year that said we're going to give $12 million. I believe it's $12 million to get affordable housing. Go out there and buy build affordable housing, whatever, to help adjust. Well, we weren't figuring on the increase in the housing at that particular time, $12 million. Well, the city of Raleigh can't find houses. They have their own real estate department. They can't find houses. They can't find houses. They can't find lots. They can't find anything. Why? Because it's gone like that, right? You, the broker out there, are finding them for your clients at it. You know how any government entity runs slow. Well, by the time they find out about it, it's probably already it's sold 30 days earlier. These things are going like this. You know that's going within 24 hours. And currently in Raleigh, we've got 41% of renters. Now, listen to this stat. 41% of renters and 16% of homeowners in the county that I'm in. So Raleigh is in Wake County here in North Carolina. So in Wake County, 41% of renters, 16% of homeowners are considered cost burdened. That means 30% or more of their budget goes to housing. Well, 41%, that's almost half of all renters can't afford to live where they are. They're scraping by. More than 30% of their income is going to rent. And so Raleigh is recognizing we got a problem. This is why we don't have people working in Lowe's. This is why we don't have anyone in the restaurants. This is why no one's in the clothing. This is why places are grocery stores are closing at 7 p.m. because they don't have anyone to work. They can't get everyone. They don't have enough people to go out there and work. Why? Well, because they can't afford to live in that area. And so now Raleigh is going to have to partner. They're out there searching right now for brokerage companies to help them in their search for affordable housing and land opportunities in order to build affordable housing. Guys, that's a crisis kind of a thing in my mind. If the city of Raleigh is now going to go out and say, okay, well, we can't do this on our own. We're going to have to get you guys who are out in the field. Then who's going to work for it? I'm not going to work for the city of Raleigh. Heck, I'm going to be working for my clients and the people who I've got who've been loyal to me. City of Raleigh, who's going to now jack up our water rates on us. They were cutting off water rates to people, but they're also going to increase it because if they're cutting these people off who aren't paying, well, someone's going to have to pay for it, which just means they're going to increase the pricing on the rest of us. So what do we take from this information and profit, and how do we profit from it? Well, I mean, we've got purchase prices are rising on it. We've got taxes that are going to be increased, right? The federal government is already taxing to get whatever 1.3 trillion, 1.5 trillion. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, taxes are going to be increased. Don't even think, when they say, the really rich are going to pay the tax increases. Y'all, that's just going to come down to us at the end of the day. The average Joe and Jane are going to be paying these taxes. So you got increased tax increases. You've got energy increases. We have a lack of affordable housing. Now, this all sounds kind of chaotic and dismal, and some of it is. It's not, let's just keep it real on it. While right in front of us, as we're getting the paychecks coming in on it, and it's cranking, just like it was in 2007. Eventually, that momentum is going to stop, and so we've been talking the last couple of weeks. You've got to be planning accordingly. This isn't unusual. It isn't that in real estate, your income continuously goes up year after year after year after year. Everyone learned that lesson when it came to housing. Everyone thought housing was going to go up year after year after year after year. Then all of a sudden, no, guess what? It really doesn't. It's never really always gone up. So same thing's going to happen again. I'm just thinking that it's going to be happening in this coming year in 2022. Where we're going to start to feel it. Now, it might not be in your particular town right away in 2022, it might be in 2023. But at some point, it's going to have to come. These are going to take effect. It is going to affect people purchasing. And I think it's just something that I'm keeping track of. I think these policies that we're talking about, we're talking about having to expect to have candlelight dinners because we don't have power. Think about that. There's very few people out here who remember blackouts. I was raised up in Connecticut and New York City, where New York City had blackouts. That's not fun stuff. A lot of bad things happen during blackouts. So here we're talking about, the word is, hey, get used to it. Get used to the fact that you're going to have to add costs to your home to improve its energy efficiency. These are all things that are going to play into whether people are buying homes, selling homes. And I think the way it looks to me, this is just, I'm trying to look at my own little crystal ball, but it's almost like we're going to have two classes of where people live. You're going to have clearly the renters, who I think are almost always going to rent, which you could say, well, Steve, we already have that now. Lower middle class, are always going to be in the renters. Yeah, but there was always the opportunity to get out of that. And if these folks are going to have to move outside the cities to live, then are they going to have transportation modes? Because it's going to impact cars and everything. All this energy stuff is going to impact all that thing, all across the board. Everything we do is that, are they going to be able to live? Are we going to be able to afford? Like, I don't know, say in Raleigh, my town, Raleigh, where they can buy and put people for affordable housing. Raleigh can't find it. They've already determined that. We can't get it. We can't find it. We got some money in the bank, which is nowhere near enough. But we've got some money in the bank, but we can't even find the place to get it. No one's selling it to us. So we got two gaps right now: renters and buyers. Buyers can't find enough homes. Renters can't find enough affordable homes. to rent, right? How are they going to get service? Where are they going to go? Is there going to be a push outside the cities now? Remember in 2007, 8, before we had energy people were moving outside the cities and they came back inside the cities. Now are we going back outside the cities? Stuff to keep in mind and trends to look at, y'all. Just stay focused, keep planning, keep looking, keep pushing forward. We'll talk to you guys next week.